KJA Global Channel. The Political System and Me. Series 6, The Civic Covenant for Future Generations. Episode 63, My National Covenant, the Non-Repetition Oath for Generations to Come. A nation does not become safe simply because a tyrant falls. A nation becomes safer when the conditions that made tyranny possible are removed. Those conditions do not live only in institutions. They also live in habits. Fear, silence, impunity, corruption, dehumanization. Every generation, therefore, needs a covenant deeper than a slogan. Slogans fade when life becomes busy. But a covenant can live within a people-like conscience. This is the final chapter of this curriculum. Not because the work ends, but because understanding must now become commitment. Suffering must become guardrails. Courage must become institutions. Memory must become protection. This is where our final question begins. Before this becomes an institutional question, it becomes a human experience. Integrate the curriculum into a shared covenant of dignity, distributed and answerable power, truthful memory, enforceable rights, professional integrity, and non-repetition. The purpose is to transform me, a single citizen inside a system, into us, a founding people who refuse to repeat history. This episode is my national covenant, the non-repetition oath for generations to come. It is not merely a legal text. It is not a religious ritual. It is a civic vow. A moral contract. A promise between citizens and the future. A declaration that the nation will never again allow the old machine to return. No matter what uniform it wears. No matter what excuse it speaks. No matter what fear it tries to sell. If democracy is the architecture, this covenant is the heartbeat. The system reveal is shared covenant and enforceable democratic commitments. The national covenant gathers the curriculum into shared commitments that must be translated into institutions, professional conduct, public accountability, and generational practice. In plain language, the hidden mechanism is shared covenant and enforceable democratic commitments. Its 10 pillars are dignity, truth, accountability, civilian supremacy, integrity, inclusion, nonviolence, civic education, participation, and stewardship. If law is the guardrail, this covenant is the conscience. If the Constitution is the contract, this covenant is the vow. Never again. The National Covenant of Non-Repetition. A citizen's oath for a federal democratic future. I acknowledge that my nation has suffered from systems that normalized fear, corruption, violence, exclusion, and humiliation. I acknowledge that history repeats when memory fades and power escapes restraint. I acknowledge that no community is safe when another community can be treated as disposable. Therefore, with full conscience, I take this covenant. Not as performance, but as duty. Commitment 1. Human dignity is the purpose of the political system. No government, leader, institution, ideology, ethnicity, religion, majority, or armed organization may treat the human person as disposable. Commitment 2. Truth must be protected. I will not defend a lie merely because it serves my side. I will distinguish verified fact from allegation, interpretation, aspiration, and propaganda. I will protect records, evidence, witnesses, archives, and honest journalism. Commitment 3. Power must be distributed, limited, and answerable. No office, armed institution, party, leader, majority, or level of government should possess unlimited authority. Power must leave records. Power must accept oversight. Power must provide answers. Power must be correctable. Commitment 4. Civilian supremacy must never again be negotiable. Armed force exists to protect lawful public order and human security. It must not own political authority or write its own immunity. It must remain under constitutional civilian control, lawful command, public finance, professional discipline, and independent oversight. Commitment 5. Integrity must govern public service. Public money is not private reward. Public office is not family property. Appointments are not gifts for loyalty. Contracts are not instruments of patronage. I will defend merit, transparent records, conflict disclosure, audit, and proportionate consequence for corruption. Commitment 6. Belonging must be equal. No person should surrender identity in order to belong to the nation. Federal democracy must protect shared citizenship, regional self-government, ethnic nationality rights, minority protection, language dignity, and equal access to remedy. Unity must never again mean domination. Commitment 7. Nonviolence, restraint, and civilian protection must guide political action. Political disagreement must not become permission to dehumanize. Civilian lives must not become instruments of strategy. Courage must be disciplined by truth, proportionality, protection, and responsibility. Commitment 8. Civic education must become a permanent national practice. Citizens must understand rights, duties, institutions, public money, federalism, evidence, remedies, and accountability. Young people must inherit the knowledge required to recognize manipulation and protect democracy. Commitment 9. Participation must be safe, informed, inclusive, and continuous. Democracy is not only an election. Citizens must be able to organize, deliberate, question, criticize, serve, monitor, appeal, and participate without fear. Commitment 10. Leadership must remain stewardship, not ownership. Power is held as trust, not trophy. Leaders must accept limits, consultation, disclosure, records, oversight, correction, succession, and lawful transfer. The true measure of leadership is whether dignity and institutions survive after the leader leaves. These commitments must enter constitutions, laws, budgets, professional codes, training systems, schools, courts, security institutions, civil service practice, political parties, media institutions, federal and regional government, local communities, families, and daily civic habits. The analytical center of this episode is the accountability chain. Authority, duty, record, oversight, answer, correction, consequence. Each arrow asks a different accountability question. Who authorized the decision? Who had the duty to act? What record should exist? What institution can review the conduct? Who must provide an answer? What correction is available? And what proportionate consequence follows if responsibility is established? A broken outcome may begin far upstream. The visible harm can come from an unjust rule, an unfunded institution, a hidden record, a captured oversight body, or a remedy that exists only on paper. The chain prevents us from reducing a system failure to one personality. It identifies where law, capacity, evidence, oversight, or enforcement stopped working. For this episode, the principal mechanism is shared covenant and enforceable democratic commitments. The production graphic must make every link readable on a phone screen and must label country-specific or proposed arrangements honestly. Under dictatorship, a national covenant is shaped by concentrated command. Information is restricted. Institutions answer upward. Challenge may carry personal risk. The ruler may claim to embody the nation. Unity may be defined as obedience. History may be rewritten to protect power. In a fragile democracy, formal rules may exist while patronage, corruption, politicization, unequal capacity, or weak enforcement make protection inconsistent. Rights may be declared without remedies. Oversight may exist without records. Federal promises may exist without genuine distribution of authority. In a functioning federal democracy, authority is constitutionally distributed, common rights remain enforceable, and more than one institution can question, review, or correct harmful power. Public records are preserved. Victims participate safely. Courts remain independent. Civilian supremacy is enforceable. Public money is audited. Federal units exercise lawful authority. Minority rights remain protected. Leaders leave office. Citizens continue to participate. Comparison is a method of judgment, not a slogan. The viewer should compare who decides, how authority was obtained, whether records are public, whether affected people participate, and whether guarantees of non-repetition are available in practice. The minimum guardrails are these. 1. Victim participation and protection. Victims, survivors, witnesses, families, displaced communities, and affected groups must participate safely, voluntarily, and with dignity. 2. Independent truth and investigative mechanisms. Truth-seeking bodies need professional independence, access to records, witness protection, credible methods, and public reporting. 3. Fair criminal accountability with due process. Serious crimes require lawful investigation, reliable evidence, independent prosecution, fair trial, defense rights, and proportionate consequence. Accountability must reject both impunity and revenge. 4. Reparations and institutional reform. Repair may include recognition, restitution, rehabilitation, compensation, memorialization, and reform of institutions that enabled abuse. 5. Guarantees of non-repetition. Constitutions, laws, education, archives, professional standards, civilian control, distributed authority, oversight, remedies, and civic habits must work together. These safeguards operate as a system. A published rule without an independent reviewer can become theater. Oversight without records cannot see. Participation without safety can expose people. And a remedy without enforcement does not repair the harm. Global relevance. The institutional test for a national covenant applies across political labels. Who decides? What limits power? What information is public? Who participates? And does a real correction or remedy exist? Myanmar relevance. Apply the lesson without treating one organization, community, armed actor, institution, leader, or proposed arrangement as the whole country. Separate existing law and institutions from interim, proposed, or aspirational designs. Distinguish verified facts from allegations, political claims, historical interpretation, and constitutional proposals. Protect civilians and sensitive identities. Represent ethnic nationalities, regions, minorities, victims, survivors, institutions, and future generations with accuracy, dignity, and agency. Here is the civic practice for this episode. See and ask. Read the covenant aloud and ask which commitment you can begin keeping today. Verify. Examine constitutional principles, rights and remedy commitments, public finance rules, professional standards, memory duties, civilian control safeguards, and accountability mechanisms. Act. Review the covenant privately or within a safe group. Choose one commitment. Convert it into a measurable personal, professional, community, or institutional practice. Name the responsibility, the evidence, the review date, and the safeguard. Review. Record whether you can identify the responsible institution, the evidence, the safeguard or remedy, and one safe next step. The measure of success is not visibility. It is whether you can identify evidence, responsibility, a safeguard, and the safest next action. And now, the oath. I swear before conscience, before history, before those who suffered, before those who resisted, before the generations to come. I will not trade truth for comfort. I will not trade justice for silence. I will not trade dignity for stability. I will not trade equal belonging for domination disguised as unity. I will not surrender public institutions to private ownership. I will not excuse corruption because it serves my side. I will not defend abuse because the abuser carries my identity, my flag, my faith, my party, or my cause. I will remember that power must remain restrained, distributed, temporary, and answerable. I will defend civilian supremacy. I will defend truthful memory. I will defend enforceable rights. I will defend professional integrity. I will defend safe and meaningful participation. I will work for a federal democratic future where belonging is equal and fear is never again the price of citizenship. This is my covenant. This is my oath. This is my inheritance to the next generation. Never again. Not in our name. Not in our future. The principle to carry forward is this. The National Covenant gathers the curriculum into shared commitments that must be translated into institutions, professional conduct, public accountability, and generational practice. Ask yourself, what part of the National Covenant for non-repetition have I treated as normal even though it should be visible, answerable, and correctable? The system shapes our lives. Our participation shapes the system. Subscribe. Learn. Participate. Shape the future. KJA, knowledge justifies authority.